That is, we are going to jump into the public sector vision on the coordination of the digital interface with APIs. So far, we are waiting him to pop up. So we are welcoming Hanna Niemi-Hugaerts, not capable of pronouncing it properly. How is it? How are you doing?
Yeah, good. I hope everything is good and slides are showing.
Yeah, so far we've got a very interesting session, and I'm very excited about all the insights that we've got. So, now we have you as a representative of the public sector in Finland. We're really looking forward to listen to the opportunities and challenges that that you have for coordinating the information infrastructure through APIs in Finland. Thank you very much, and looking forward to your speech.
Thank you very much, Monica. Yes, I guess I was listening the previous speakers, and they went quite more deeper to the legal side of things, and myself, I'm talking more about the framework and managing the collaboration between the different players in the API ecosystem. So I'm Hanna Niemi-Hugaerts, the Executive Director of TIEKE, the Finnish Information Society Development Center. I've been working with APIs for the past 10 years or so, promoting interoperable APIs, first in the smart city context and now more widely in the information society aspect, both nationally and in private sector organizations. And I will talk a bit about the work we have done together with the Finnish Ministry on the API guidelines and principles here in Finland. Shortly about TIEKE, so we are not a public sector player ourselves. We are an association, non-profit, and we are helping Finland and the organizations and individuals living in Finland to make most out of digitalization and new technologies. So we're an independent non-profit organization, and we are really dedicated to expanding the digital know-how in the society. And we have our focus is on development of digital skills, digital networking, digital processes of organization, and interoperability. And we have 50 member organizations representing both the public and the private sector in Finland. We have, in addition to the member organizations, we have a network of 1,000 organizations that we interact with in Finland and also internationally. We have quite long expertise on the information society topics, also including APIs, but also the different kind of electronic messaging formats and interoperability on those, which actually still many organizations use also in Finland. We just turned 40 in November, and we are quite known also on the digital skills side on different e-examinations and this. We launched the computer's driver's license, for example, and currently we are more working on topics like real-time economy, smart tourism, smart logistics, and so forth. So from our point of view, the APIs are answer to many issues and challenges we are facing in the society. So we at TIEKE work very hard to get data moving and used, whether it's through opening it, whether it's through sharing it, whether it's through consenting it. And we very much rely on APIs, of course, for all these different means of getting data moving and used. We believe that interoperability and discovery of data require more work. Also an issue that APIs, especially harmonized and standardized APIs, can help us to solve and tackle. We believe in collaboration across silos. I will tell about the one example of collaboration around the topic of APIs a bit more in detail soon. We believe that, like I mentioned, for us to get the data consented by individuals and get this human-centric approach to data, we need new kinds of ecosystems where organizations have different kind of roles. Some are data collectors, some are data operators, and so forth. And I think that's something that we, as a also API community, have to tackle. We need new, more variety of different kind of digital identity solutions based on the use cases. Sometimes you need stronger identification, sometimes maybe less strong, but we should have more options available for both the organizations, but also for individuals. And then we believe that there was talk about terms of service, which can be sometimes a showstopper of good developer experience. So we need a lot of emphasis on developer experience of both public APIs, open APIs, but also organizations APIs, partner APIs. And good APIs need also a lot of marketing. We need new kinds of tools to use data for also those, if we do all the hard work to get the data computer or machine readable, we should also make sure that humans can use it as well, even if they don't have programming skills. So there's a lot of work to be done so that the data can serve our society on a wider way. And then more and more important is sustainability, different ethical issues, and shared European values. And we think that we need to have not just the legal side of contracts, but also the regulation in place for us to advance on these topics. So how do we work on achieving the previously mentioned goals? Just some brief examples before I go to the one case that I'm showcasing today. We've been the Finnish partner for the global data parameter to map the way the availability of certain data sets, but also the ease of accessing the data sets and the different contracting details around data sets. And the survey, the results should come for this global study in early 2022. So I think this is one of the key resources that we can use for all of us to benchmark where we are with data in the public sector. But also this year they have taken more into account also the private sector data. So it's a good tool for us to kind of make the roadmap from the current state to the envisioned information society that we are also working hard on. We help the cities to collect more accurate data in a harmonized way on, for example, the last mile or last meter logistics, the way that certain deliveries can be made to a specific store in the city, in the center of the city, for example, and how wide is the entrance, what kind of delivery truck you can use, and so forth. So we work very hard on this very crucial data so that we can have more efficient deliveries, better customer experience, but also cut down on the emissions that the unnecessary driving around of the logistic companies and their vehicles can cause in many cities. And we also look at the whole data and API technical framework from the sustainability point of view. So we have a project on the cutting down the emissions, and on the other hand, enhancing the positive impact of ICT solutions. So we help both the public sector and the private sector to create a more greener, a more climate-friendly offering of IT solutions. On the data aspects, it's a lot about increasing the know-how of companies, especially SMEs are struggling in Europe to advance with digitalization. We have the good regulation, GDPR. Oops, here's a spelling mistake, I noticed. And we are helping the companies to understand and leverage the opportunity that this kind of regulation, just like the terms of service, for example, if they are harmonized, could bring and ease the doing business within the EU when you could more easily know that the companies you are doing business with have taken care of the GDPR issues, for example. And the same goes, of course, then for APIs that companies are offering. So we see this as a crucial. I mean, it's a good regulation, but we need to put it into action in companies and make sure that companies don't stop doing it. Doesn't hinder or bring hindrance to their operations, but actually smooth the way the data is being used and collected. But now finally to the topic of today, so the national API principles that we are in charge of, partly, though we are not in charge of the principles themselves, but we are in charge of the stakeholder engagement around these principles. And it's funded by the Ministry of Finance, and they are in charge of the actual guideline work, the work on the principles, and we are then engaging the private sector and public sector to kind of discover the possibilities APIs can bring to them, and also create a new kind of collaboration model between the private and public sector. I have some slides from the Ministry of Finance on this project, so I will share those. They are created by Miina Arajärvi, who is the senior specialist working in the Ministry of Finance. So their goal, they have a project running on opening and using public data, and they really want to promote the wider and more effective use of public data across society. And it's around 2-year project, and one of the parts or the sectors they are working on is the sharing the data primarily through APIs and use of data through APIs. And part of this work is the preparing and implementing the national API guidelines and principles. And to bring also the European perspective to this work, these principles will be used in the national implementation of the European Commission's recommendations on an API framework for digital government. So why API principles for the Finnish public administration? They don't currently have such principles in place. It's carried by, the API development is carried by different organizations, and there's lack of technical interoperability. And there are also different organizations, and especially on different levels within those organizations, that the possibilities of APIs are not completely identified or understood. So it's also about increasing the understanding of these benefits that APIs can provide. There's also, they have identified a room for improvement on the competence and capabilities that the different experts in these organizations have. So the goal is to create a shared set of principles for API development. They also want to promote this customer-driven approach and cooperation, reusability, technical interoperability, information security, and data protection, as well as quality in API development. And these common principles, their aim is to promote functionality and harmonized use of information, and again, primarily through APIs. And they are intended to be used by the entire public administration for purposes such as public information system procurement and interface development, so that it would be easier to procure APIs that are aligned with the other existing APIs within the public sector. They kind of tackle 3 different levels, going from the strategic level principles to tactical level principles, and then to the operational level principles that would make it very practical to utilize these shared principles. And here's a kind of an overview of what kind of issues they are tackling on these different levels. So while the goals that I mentioned are shared for all these different levels of organizations, there's more detailed topics within each level that they are tackling. So whereas in strategic principles, it can be about promotion of internal and external cooperation, or setting goals for the provision and use of APIs and acquiring sufficient resources. On the tactical principles, it's more about identifying risks of APIs, developing APIs kind of in a user-centric manner, and defining roles and tasks and responsibilities around the APIs. And then in the operational level, it's more about the kind of standards and protocols we are using generic and common data models, and the way that the APIs are tested, versioned, and documented. This is their timeline of the whole work on this project, and now we are approaching the end of 2021, so soon the principles will be ready. There will be hands-on instructions on their use, and then training materials accompanying these instructions, so that it would be as easy as possible to start using and start applying the shared API principles. Next year, they will be ensuring the maintenance and further development of the API principles, so that they don't just get finished and then forgotten. They will be supporting a cooperation across networks and organizing virtual trainings. So the work that we at TIEKE have done on the stakeholder engagement around these API principles is to bring, like I mentioned, we have brought together the private and public sector players. The different roles of these organizations can be API providers, they can be API utilizers, or they can be API builders. So some companies that third parties that actually that the public sector procures the APIs from, or they procure the system that will then have the API built into. We have around 300 organizations, or 300 individuals, so some of them are maybe from same organizations, but around that number of people engaged in this collaborations. We've organized a round of webinars to share experiences from Finnish tax official who has been very forward-minded with the APIs and their developer engagement, or the Finnish National Survey, who has also been a long time, I think decades long API provider. So they've been kind of sharing their lessons learned. And then we've organized, sometimes accompanied by the webinars, or sometimes individually, workshops to gather different kind of insights from the stakeholders that are involved in this activity. And it's also one of our targets has been to inspire organizations to get started with APIs. So you don't need to have experience. You don't maybe even have API yet on your roadmap, but you can come and discover the possibilities that they can provide to you, whichever role your organization has in this ecosystem. We have published the webinars on YouTube, so unfortunately they are only in Finnish, but you can see that, or I can tell you that there's been a very wide range of topics covered. So it's about how you use APIs to improve your service quality, how to serve your API users in the best possible way, so the developer experience, what kind of new kinds of collaboration models we need, and so forth. So a wide range of topics that have all caught quite a lot of interest. And then on the workshops also, again, sorry that it's in Finnish, but we've been then kind of deep diving. We've been using the different kind of canvases to help organizations look at their own operations and what APIs can mean to them. Or like last Friday, we organized a workshop on the kind of collaboration model between the public and private sector. What kind of things should change so that these things would, so that we could see Finland really moving forward with APIs. And on last Friday, some of the discoveries we made were that there is already actually quite good research, development and innovation funding, for example, that companies can utilize and also public sector can utilize to some extent. But the challenge is that they are not so widely known, that sometimes when a company has a great idea, they don't necessarily know how they can find a public sector partner whom they could pilot with. So we should also somehow provide more information about these development-minded public sector players who are eager to pilot with companies new kinds of APIs. Then the one topic that came both from the private sector and public sector, that there's very little API business know-how or skills, and it's hard to know how to either monetize your API or how you can actually calculate and reason the business logic behind the API. So we should arrange training on that topic as well. But a lot of important and valuable feedback was gathered through these workshops, and it's all the Finnish Ministry of Finance and also the other public sector players who were involved in the workshops have taken this feedback and insights into account, and they will then both take it into account in the API principles that they are finalizing, but also on the way that they will in the future collaborate, like their developer experience, for example, how they will aim to improve it. And therefore, I think it's been very eye-opening discussions for many players that have taken place in these workshops. The collaboration on the stakeholder engagement is ending, while the project is also ending. And we at TIEKE, of course, will continue our work on getting data moving and used, and also the interoperability of it, both for the, like I mentioned, these electronic messaging formats, but also more and more helping those companies who still have these quite old legacy systems and legacy ways of transferring information, to help them also take the steps towards APIs. And while doing this, taking into account our national API principles that the ministry will publish. So that was actually all. So if there are any, is there still time for questions or?
Thanks a lot, Hanna. Indeed, it's been very, very nice to have also this perspective on not only one API providing to the world, but actually to have the ecosystem vision on top of it. Actually, you have shown that actually by developing digital skills to encouraging the digital networking and ensuring the technical interoperability of actions, this is really becoming an ecosystem. So the biota is entering into the scene, because up until now there were only machine-to-machine communications. But whenever the people of the organizations get inside, then it becomes a little bit more, and it's very, very interesting to learn that Finland is so advanced in this sense. And I don't know if we have any. I haven't been. So yeah, we have a lot of grateful for your presentation, and I cannot see questions here, but so it will be very nice indeed to get to know. So you do not conceive the legal aspects in these in all these setups. Is there no legal concerns that that are in the process of establishing this coordination?
Well, actually, yes, legal aspects. Maybe I said it a bit wrong. My point of view was not maybe directly legal, but yes, in a lot of workshops, legal aspects come into play, and also Perfect. The role of private data, how widely you should, or personal data. I mean, how widely, because some companies feel that they want to take it a very strict viewpoint on it, because otherwise you might later on then come across some legal issues when data sets are combined and so forth. So I think legal aspects are there, shared way of doing the terms of services and so forth. I think all these aspects are, of course, very, very important.
Okay. Thank you very, very much. I really would like to have more time, but the workshop is already too long, and you guys are incredible.